Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm gonna show you a 2015 American war thriller drama film called Man Down. Spoilers ahead. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The movie begins with a man named Gabriel Drummer, standing at an abandoned house late at night. He courageously goes inside and promptly wakes his son Jonathan to bring with him as they escape. As they go down the stairs, Gabriel opens fire with enemies and is cornered by chopper lights outside the abandoned house. They rush back inside and conceal. One morning sometime in the past in Camp Lejeune, Gabriel knocks on the door of Captain Peyton's office to have his therapy session. As they are conversing, Gabriel surveys the room and sees a picture frame, an image of Captain Peyton and his grandson. He asks about the boy but is stopped as the session is about him and not the captain's personal life. The session begins with the captain interviewing him about his family and his friend Devin Roberts. Gabriel discusses him as he reminisces about him and their time in the war in Afghanistan. Sometime later, Gabriel is training as a U.S. Marine officer. He, together with his comrades, stiffly holds a piece of paper while Sergeant Miller loudly speaks to enforce discipline amongst them. Later on, the sergeant moves closer to Gabriel to forcefully hit on his arms multiple times as it is not firm enough. The officers are tasked to move to the next course afterwards. Early morning, intense training continues for Gabriel and his comrades. He and his friend Devin strive to keep up with the rest despite being scolded by Sergeant Miller. In the late afternoon, the training ends. Gabriel and Devin laughingly converse as they jokingly claim not signing up for U.S. Marine. After a while, Gabriel is back at his home. He is having his head shaved by his wife, Natalie. She reminds him to take Jonathan to school and speak to his teacher about kids bullying him. The next day, Gabriel drives Jonathan to school. They happily converse in the car, and Gabriel unintentionally uses military terms to his son. Jonathan asks what man down means, and Gabriel explains the purpose of that term. Minutes later, they arrived at school. Gabriel sees from afar the kid who bullies Jonathan. Jonathan divulges the reason why he gets bullied. The bullies hear his mom tell him, "I love you," and they start teasing him multiple times. Gabriel is pissed. He comes up with man down as a secret code for "I love you," so the bullies will eventually stop bullying him. Jonathan cheerily agrees with the idea. Back to the present time, Gabriel's city is destroyed with no signs of people living there. His face is utterly unrecognizable as his beard and mustache grow. Suddenly, Devin radios him to meet up as he finds a suspicious man. He immediately wakes up and hastily flees to where Devin is. As they locate the homeless man named Charles, they approach him. After that, Gabriel yanks Charles by the collar and interrogates him. He curiously asks what happens to his city and why he's the only one alive. Charles is confused. Gabriel desperately wants to know where the other survivors reside. In confusion, Charles just mentions having his friend reside somewhere in the place and having to survive to live. Months ago, in Camp Lejeune, Gabriel was tasked to have his intense one-on-one training later at night. His eyes sting as Sergeant Miller sprays something on it to make his training challenging to accomplish. As he finishes, Devin hoses water on his eyes to make his sight recover. They laugh afterwards. After some time, the U.S. Marine Corps, together with their families, gather to have a small gathering. Sergeant Miller gives them a short speech to remind them of their time in the camp and what their next journey will be. In his ongoing therapy session, Captain Peyton calmly interviews Gabriel about his relationship with Devin Roberts on the battlefield. Gabriel recalls their time together again as he describes him as a battle buddy and further reinforces their friendship. Afterwards, Gabriel becomes tight-lipped as Captain Peyton asks him what happened in the war in Kamdesh, Afghanistan. Back to the present, Gabriel's desperation to find his family grows. He shows Charles a laminated photo of Natalie and Jonathan. Charles unrecognized them. Gabriel threatens to shoot him as he does not believe his claim. Months ago, Gabriel was assigned to a battle in Afghanistan. Natalie opposes him leaving for war. They angrily argue, but that does not stop Gabriel from going. Afterwards, Gabriel bids farewell to Jonathan. Jonathan is devastatingly silent. He hands over a laminated picture of him and his mother to Gabriel. Gabriel pledges to send him letters every day. Gabriel departs as Devin arrives to pick him up. Later, in the present time frame, Charles takes them to his shelter, where he and his friends reside. As they walk, Gabriel unexpectedly hears Charles mumble his son's name. He confusingly confronts him to ask why he knows Jonathan. Charles denies mumbling any word. Gabriel is frustratingly silent. He abandons the conversation as he might have misheard him. After some time from months ago, Gabriel arrives in Afghanistan. He contacts Devin, who's left in his city, to go check on his family as he's unable to get hold of Natalie. Devon unhesitatingly agrees and informs him of heading to Afghanistan in a week or two. Gabriel is greatly astonished by the news. Back again to the therapy session, Gabriel is frustrated as Captain Peyton keeps beating around the bush throughout the session. He's incredibly interested in what took place in the war in Kamdesh, Afghanistan. Gabriel has no choice but to maddeningly recall the scene. Months ago, during the war in Kamdesh, Afghanistan, Gabriel surveyed his surroundings while his comrades were distracted. From a distance, he sees a suspicious man mumbling. He radios his captain when suddenly, a bomb explodes near their location. The enemies open fire as the US soldiers are not fully prepared. Many of them lose their lives while Gabriel and the others open fire on the enemy's location. Meanwhile, during the therapy session, Gabriel stops in the middle of his story. It terrifies him to disclose the happenings in the room they entered during the attack. His hand trembles in fear as he recalls a traumatic event. Captain Peyton worriedly prescribes him calming pills. Back to the present at night time, Gabriel and Charles sit in the shelter and chat. Gabriel beggingly asks Charles again where his son is. Charles strongly denies knowing his son. Until then, Devon and Charles dispute as he finds an envelope with Jonathan's name on the ground near him. Devon accidentally shoots him as he tries to escape and deny the accusation. Devon and Gabriel hastily flee the scene. After a while during the war, Gabriel and Devon barge their way into the enemy's lair. They carefully survey the place on their way to the upper floor. As they arrive in one of the rooms in the establishment they entered into, they encounter numerous Afghanistan women beggingly screaming to spare their lives. Devon points his rifle at them as they provokingly annoy him. On the other hand, Gabriel is instructed to survey the other rooms. He confidently claims that the room is clear and with no sign of enemies. He continues to check on the bodies in the place until he sees movement in a blanket meters away from him. He shouts, "Gun down," as the enemies continuously open fire at them. Devon and one of their comrades get shot before they can hide. As the enemies stop to shoot, Gabriel angrily shoots the enemy's location continuously. He rapidly removes the blanket cover and discovers he killed an Afghanistan mother and child. Afterwards, he rushes to Devon. Devon emotionally apologizes to Gabriel. Gabriel eagerly yells at him to fight as he spits blood and heavily breathes. After some time in Gabriel's therapy session, he emotionally sheds tears as he recalls the traumatic event in the enemy's room. He claims that he fails to recognize that the shooters are civilians. He dejectedly regrets killing them and being unable to take that time back. After the war in Afghanistan, Gabriel is suspiciously curious as to why Devon has a piece of paper on his combat helmet containing Natalie's Skype account. Subsequently, Gabriel takes the bloody piece of paper after the attack. On his computer, he nervously opens Devon's account. To his surprise, Devon and Natalie secretly have an intimate relationship. At the same time, Natalie receives a call from Devon on her computer. She intentionally ends the ring as she is guilty of her wrongdoings. She gets another call and ends up answering it. To her surprise, the dismayed face of Gabriel appears on her screen. She nervously begs him as she learns he finds out about her affair. As Gabriel emotionally conveys his wife's betrayal to Captain Peyton, he frustratingly wants to leave his office immediately. He angrily bursts out as Captain Peyton mentions the attack on Afghanistan when he's talking about his wife. Later on, the two of them argue as Gabriel continues to assume that the captain does not understand what he's going through. Captain Peyton strongly claims he can help him. As the atmosphere becomes silent, Captain Peyton eventually asks Gabriel if he desires to end his life. He agrees, however, reminded of his family and his laminated photo, he gets haunted by guilt. As the clock strikes 7, his therapy session ends. Captain Peyton believes that Gabriel needs severe attention and medication. However, Gabriel claims there's nothing he can do to fix him. He insists on not receiving any help. Captain Peyton devastatingly respects his decision. Gabriel leaves afterwards. After that, he is sent home due to his mental condition and incapabilities. As he arrives in his city, he stands in front of his house, staring at a faraway bridge. Devon unexpectedly stands at his back and speaks about Gabriel's thought of committing suicide on the bridge. For a short while, they converse as Natalie and Jonathan are wordlessly confused while staring at them. In the film's final minutes, the actual events came to light. Devon dies from the shooting in Afghanistan, and his appearance in other scenes is all part of Gabriel's hallucination. All this time, Gabriel speaks and journeys with Devon, whom no one else can see. Meanwhile, Natalie beggingly tries her best to win back Gabriel's trust. However, as time passes by, Gabriel grows distant from her. She cannot discover her husband's condition and ends up outgrowing her fear of him. The devastated city Gabriel creates in his mind does not exist at all. He ends up living on the city streets as he believes he is left all alone. After that, he continues to traumatize his wife by regularly threatening her. As his mental issues grow more significant day by day, he frighteningly disturbs his wife in their own residence. Once, he angrily throws out a pot of plants to his wife as she distances Jonathan from him. Feared, his wife reports him to the police as he becomes violent and aggressive. After some time, Natalie calls on again to the police as she finds out Gabriel is armed and will take Jonathan from his school. However, in Gabriel's perspective, he sees enemies kidnapping his child when it's only the police who come to protect Jonathan. He continues his search for Jonathan and finds Charles, a homeless man, who knows nothing about Jonathan. The envelope with Jonathan's name is unknowingly dropped by Gabriel, and he grows suspicious of Charles as he finds it closer to him. Devon's not the one who shoots him. Gabriel unconsciously does. At night, he firmly decides to barge into his own residence. He forcefully kicks on his gates and unhesitantly shoots Jonathan's dog that he gave as a present on his birthday. Consequently, Natalie sees the bloody body of the dead dog from her window. Immediately, she calls on the police. On the other hand, Gabriel breaks on the glass window and surprisingly wakes his son from a deep sleep. He silently brings him to escape while the police siren sound surrounds the place. Later on, Natalie immediately sees them pass by and calls on Jonathan. Gabriel thinks she's an enemy and unhesitantly shoots her. Luckily, she hastily dodges the bullet. Going down the stairs, Gabriel opens fire multiple times. As he carries Jonathan, they hastily flee the house but rush back again as the chopper light surprises them. Back inside, they hide under the table. Gabriel radios Devon but he does not receive any response at all. On the other hand, Jonathan is terrifyingly weeping. Gabriel demands him not to feel that way and assures him everything will be okay. Later, he hands the laminated picture back to Jonathan to ease his current feeling. As he surveys his surroundings, he confusingly sees their family picture on the wall as images of the fallen soldiers from the Afghanistan war. As he stands, a police officer unexpectedly points his gun at Gabriel's head. However, Gabriel rapidly combats him. Gabriel strangles the policeman to death and keeps radioing Devon for backup afterwards. After a while, Natalie slowly goes down the stairs to approach her husband. From Gabriel's perspective, he sees an Afghanistan woman he unintentionally killed before. Immediately, Gabriel approaches her and points his gun as he continues to ask where his wife is. Natalie frighteningly answers, "I'm right here," multiple times, but Gabriel does not recognize her. After some time, Gabriel snaps to reality. He finally sees that the woman he's strangling is Natalie all along. He weepingly apologizes when suddenly, he gets shot in his back. Later on, he gets shot again consecutively. He weakly picks up his letters from his back pocket addressed to his son, Jonathan. He hands it out to him afterwards. The movie ends when Gabriel is incapacitated to move and is forcefully dragged by his feet by the police officer. They handcuff him, and suddenly, Jonathan hastily rushes to embrace his father. After that, they both weepingly express their love for each other. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.